I never worked on Avatar. Not sure why you'd think that, but I have worked with many whom have. One of my very first directors was from the Avatar crew, told me a story about this picture.
Pretty slick, huh?
The execs wanted, obviously, more toys, collectibles, armors, standard gizmos for the kids. So to troll the situation, I was told the crew made this. The point of this video is to give some insight, to give some experience into animation in the industry. All right, and that includes working with some of the Avatar crew, the Korra crew, DreamWorks, and Netflix productions to help understand what happened on Avatar. It helps to know real situations from production and actually how a lot of it pertains to life and how you deal with that trauma. First section, I'm going to be going through just being lied to in the industry. I was hired and I was fired before I could even start this job that I'm about to talk about. All right, here's something from Mike. Look, things happen. Productions are challenging. Unforeseen events arise. Plans have to change. I do my best to go with the flow, no matter what obstacle is in my way. But even the air nomad knows that when it's time to cut their losses and move on. There's this particular job that I was super excited for. I was going to be working on a new animation project. I love the team. I love the project. I love the whole thing about it. And we met up and they said, you know, good to go. We like you. We like your work. We like everything about it. They said that we're going to be starting up in like 4 months or something. I dropped everything. I dropped all the other projects that I was doing. I basically just did my own thing and I was just chilling, you know, kind of waiting for this date that they had set. And then just at the last second, they just, out of the blue, they said, sorry, we went with somebody else. You know, naturally I was really confused. I was like, you said we were Gucci. I said I was Gucci. We went in and met. Everybody said it was Gucci. But the thing is I learned this at a young age. You cannot depend on other people for your happiness. You cannot depend on other people for the path that you want to take in life. So I had no problem. I had nothing personal against the crew or the people that did the hiring. I was like, you know what? It's fine. Honestly, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, you know? I don't know exactly what happened, if they had something personal against me or if they just found somebody that was better. And you know what? I told them that. I was like, I'm sad that I didn't get to work with y'all, but I'm really excited to work with you again in the future because I don't know what the situation was. So like Mike said, I cut my losses and I moved on. You can't flippin' wait around. You cannot wait around for companies, especially companies and people, to help push you in the way that you want to go in life. And for another situation, I was promised a position by a certain date, and when that date came around, guess what? Things had changed up. It happens everywhere. There's no getting around it. And with the Avatar crew, I don't know exactly what they had gone through, but things change up and you can't foresee some things. My point being, I don't want this to seem like anything new. This is how it's always been. When Netflix brought me on board to run this series alongside Mike 2 years ago, they made a very public promise to support our vision. Unfortunately, there is no follow-through on that promise. Mike and Brian, they're like showrunner level, top level, but I can kind of relate to this on a smaller level, where I felt like I was being lied to in the position that I was hired as. So at one point, this is a few years back, this is an old thing, I was hired as a background designer, and all the kids wanted to be viz dev, visual development. So as I was a background designer for a bit, the company that I was working at came to me with this title. They're like, hey, you can be viz dev, you want to be viz dev? And I was like, oh, viz dev, yeah, that's where you get to like paint, create these cool ideas, and all the kids wanted to be viz dev, you know. I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And as it turns out, you get the title, but you don't get any more money. I wasn't doing what was currently known as viz dev. They created this title so I could basically do twice the amount of work for the same pay. Not only did I have to do backgrounds, but now I had to do backgrounds and prop design. Now, I did feel betrayed at first, you know. I felt manipulated or whatever. And as it turns out, I learned a lot through prop design, and that was because I was open to that experience of like, all right, the situation kind of makes me mad, but I'm gonna see if I can learn anything from it. And I really did. I learned a lot from like line quality and, you know, anything that there was to learn about it, I was open to it, and that's the point. Not necessarily saying that Brian and Mike weren't open to certain ideas, because I'm sure they were. I'm just saying, how does this connect to students or people trying to learn from the situation? Another good industry example of being lied to is now hiring. These companies say they're hiring for this position. You go on their website and they say they have this huge list of these positions that you can be hired for. Most likely, all of these jobs are actually taken. Just legally, they're obligated to put them online. Again, that's not all of the jobs. For the most part of what I know, this is the majority. The jobs are taken because people typically know people on the inside. They're like, oh, my buddy can do this job, so we're gonna hire him. But technically, like, let's go ahead and put the listing up so it's legally, you know, we're in the clear. And I think that's the point of all this, is that it might be messed up, but that's the way it goes. There are people that fight this system, and like, props to them. My fiance fought the system. I'm the kind of guy that puts my head down And I'm like, all right, I was raised to work hard, and that's what I'm gonna do. Because in working hard and not asking for handouts, I personally learn a lot more. That's just me though. Fighting for justice on certain situations, that's not asking for a handout, that's asking for what's right. And that takes a lot of energy, that takes a lot of dedication. Being lied to and setting up these rules for yourself reminds me of my stepdad. That guy was always promising stuff, always promising all this BS. And the first time he let me down, I was like kind of confused and hurt. But the second time that it happened, I was like, okay, I thought we were playing by certain rules, but we're not. We're playing by your rules. We're playing by this whole new made up system, and I'm not gonna play it. So that happened really early in my life. So I kind of went through a trial of like how, life actually works, where you don't just get what you want and there's not justice. You have to learn how to play with the system. So how does this connect to companies, major companies? If they follow through on their promises, if they follow through on all this stuff that they're saying that they're gonna give me or put me somewhere, that's great, but I'm not going to put all the eggs in that basket. Bottom line, I don't blame the people making the promises. I blame myself for depending on those promises. All right, this section involves self-worth, realistically evaluating your self-worth. Mike says, I also sought wisdom from Stoic philosophers, who were big on differentiating between what is within our control and what isn't. It was necessary for my happiness and creative integrity. The way I take it is, they don't respect me and my creative decisions and my value. So, I skip out. I want to be clear that he is at a certain level where he can do this. He realistically evaluates his self-value. How does this pertain to you as a student? We have to realistically evaluate where we are in this hierarchy and the amount of skills and knowledge that we have. All I'm saying is, if you're a flippin' student, don't be like, they're not letting me run the show, they're not letting me do this or that, so I'm gonna skip out because nobody respects me, nobody respects my artistic judgment. Nah, I don't think so, Skipper. You got a long ways to go. And the funny thing is, I've seen this situation where other people might be better suited to do a certain position because their skills are so much better, but at their age, they're not necessarily fit to move up. So that happens too. Sometimes you just gotta chill and learn from the people around you. Bottom line, know you're a student if you're a student. And also, if you're a student, you get the WACOM 1. This flippin' video is sponsored by WACOM. Let me tell you something. This thing takes one cable, doesn't need to plug into a wall, affordable, transportable. Take this sucker to grandma's house. Pack your bags. Go on a picnic. Take it on a picnic. Let me ask you a question. Have I ever lied to you before? I would never, ever lie to you. I would never tell you what to do. Go buy this right now. Okay, this segment's on money. Nicole, my fiance, editor for Netflix, editor for DreamWorks. She was at a specific company and she was looking for better pay. She knew her self-worth. Like I was saying before, you have to know your self-worth. And she knew it, and she was going for the big ones. And I was like, oh man, just put your head down. Why are you doing this? You're kind of fresh in the industry-ish. And I was like, just don't do that. Don't cause attention to yourself. This was my whole childhood, is like, try not to cause attention to yourself. She, against what I was saying, she fought for it, she got better pay, and still, she'll find injustices in productions, and she'll fight it. She'll fight for what's right, and it's super impressive, and I'm very proud. I'm very proud of her. And I think Mike said this, sometimes life is like a dark tunnel. You can't always see the light on the other end of the tunnel, but if you just keep moving, you'll come to a better place. That's not true. If you just sit there, you just chill, take a nap, the light, it'll come. You just wait on it. Brian says, to be clear, this was not a simple matter of us not getting our way. Mike and I are collaborative people. We did not need all of these ideas to come from us. Executives have a lot to say about the creative process, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we don't know about. And I'm not even gonna pretend like I know all of it. All right, but what had happened while I was on Voltron felt like a similar situation where the people running the show creatively wanted to kill off SHIRO. They wanted to actually kill him off. But to my knowledge, the execs, they said you couldn't kill off SHIRO because of course the money involved and keeping the product strong, So creatively, they had to find a way around this situation where they could still technically kill SHIRO, but he would still be, alive in the show.
And last but not least, SHIRO the hero. I have thoughts, ideas. I don't need you anyway. I'll rewrite the show. Get rid of the whole lot of you. Replace you with new paladins. And the show will be better than ever before. Except for you, Shiro. I'll never get rid of you. You're our most popular character. But the rest of you will never work in show business again!
Final statement, he says, I will put my time, energy, and talents towards the projects that give me the most fulfillment and where I am afforded trust and respect. Life is too short to do otherwise. Again, I really feel like this can help students, but, you know, like with anything, don't just give up immediately. Wait and see if the bad situation is actually bad or if there's things to learn from this situation. But if you feel like you've actually realistically evaluated your self-worth and people aren't seeing that, you don't have to wait for the company to see that. Go out and create your own thing. Create your own story, create your own visuals, create your own ideas. Don't sit around and wait for the bigwigs to listen to you, because nobody's going to listen to you. Nobody cares. Don't expect nothing. Bottom line. Do it for you first. If it's a good enough idea, others will follow. End result, productions are pretty complicated. There's a lot of things we don't see behind the scenes. But what I've learned, and what I've learned to not take so personally, and this is just how I cope with it, there are people whom it's their job to save money. Save money for the company, save money for the project, and to make money. And then there's creative jobs. And betwixt those, you gotta find it's difficult to find a harmonious balance. But to quote Brian, and to how I personally feel about these type of situations, and coming to terms with these type of things, and to find your own happiness, you have to really differentiate what is in your control and what isn't. Buy WACOM 1. Buy WACOM 1. And go to Skillshare. Skillshare!